Welcome back. WNST. We've had this guy on talking about the wagering and the Vegas and the point spreads and the pick'ems of the week. And an interesting week to have Brandon Lang back on the program where Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson, who's going to be the quarterback this week. First off, he's, of course, a legendary handicapper. They've made movies about him and all that good stuff. He joins us at the Super Bowl, and from time to time throughout the year, Brandon Lang can be found at brandonlang.com as well. We'll talk some lines and stuff, but nothing screws up a line more than who's going to play quarterback, right?
I'll tell you what, that's the biggie. I mean, you know, there's been times where Brady was going to play the line 7. He's a late scratch. The line goes down to a pick'em. He's worth 7. Rodgers is worth 7. So that's the biggie there. And it's amazing we're even talking about a quarterback controversy in Baltimore. And we're talking about Harbaugh maybe gone at the end of this year. And it's such a dog-eat-dog world that you can win a Super Bowl years ago. People forget about that. It's kind of my business. What have you done for me lately? Forget the fact that I've hit 6 straight football winners and I'm on probably the best winning streak of the year. It don't matter. I lose the Buffalo-Ohio game tonight. I suck. I'm the worst. So it's tough. It's the profession that we've chosen. But in the coaching ranks, for me, that's the hardest thing for what Harbaugh has done and how good a coach he's been for the time he's been. And to even think that he may be fired or it's even being mentioned, that's amazing to me.
Well,
really
decorated coaches move around, right? I mean, Belichick's on his 3rd job, maybe 4th if he would have taken the Jets job for 5 minutes, right? So, people move around. In this case, it's a philosophical issue, I think, for the franchise to say who's going to be the quarterback, who's going to be on the team next year, are they good enough to win this year? And obviously, this game here is the season, right? Like, you lose this game, you go to 4-6. And I think it's just as important for the Bengals as well. Some of these key matchups in the middle of the year, some of these teams have been Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, look at the Bengals defense. Marvin Lewis is firing his defensive coordinator on Monday morning.
Yeah, and looking at this game, it's a get well, get healthy, just feel good about yourself game. That Cincinnati defense is one of the worst I have seen in quite some time based on the head coach with his defensive pedigree. Now, the defensive coordinator gets fired. Marv now takes back over the defense. It'll be interesting to see what changes he can make, but at the end of the day, it's personnel. So you can make all the changes in the world you want. I didn't see him sign any new players. I didn't see him starting any new players. It's the same defense that Drew Brees just lit up for 50. What's the difference? I think this is a great get-healthy game for the Ravens at home. And as far as Flacco and Jackson is concerned, listen, you've watched a lot of football in your life. I've watched a lot of football in my life. You can be the most talented guy in the world, but if you can't process and read defenses in the time that you have to read it, you're going to be gone. It's that simple. And if they do want to make this move or they're thinking Lamar is our guy, he better learn how to read defenses. So I'm telling you right now, at Louisville, he couldn't read defenses. He kept plays alive, and he ran, and he was great, and he was electrifying. But in the NFL, you got to process and read. It'll be interesting to see, because I even said on draft day, he's going to have a problem reading defenses in the NFL, and let's see if I'm right.
Well, the question is how much you have to do it when you can run the way he runs, right? Like, when you have a special skill set that many other quarterbacks who study and play that position don't have, but then the ability to deliver the ball, right? And Michael Vick was a great example of that, because Michael Vick threw the ball as well as anyone for me on the run, had he not been injured, and I was there that crazy preseason night. But that's also part of this, is when you're going to run around with the football and you weigh 200 pounds and you're built more like a halfback than like Gronkowski or Roethlisberger or Cam Newton or any of these giant guys. Cam Newton's like a linebacker running with the football. When he's out in space, it's tackle me, I'm a tight end. That's not going to be the case for Lamar Jackson, but he's got to learn to get out of bounds and not get blown up in that way.
Yeah, you stand Lamar Jackson next to Cam, and you see the difference. You stand RG3 next to Lamar Jackson, now you have similarities. We saw how banged up, and he was in your backyard in Washington. You saw how RG3 got banged up. It's not college. You're not running against North Carolina on a 3rd and 6. You're running against beasts. So again, interested to see what happens here with Jackson and Flacco. I'm a Flacco fan. Great career. I don't think Lamar's the answer. But I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But that's my opinion.
Brandon Lang joining us here from BrandonLang.com. He is in the wagering and handicapping business. He's been my pal for a long time. We get together a couple times a year and discuss some games and some weeks and where we are. I know you've been on a roll here of late, as have the Rams, have the Saints, the Chiefs. This is the time of the year where the value starts to move around on these 8-1 and 9-1 kind of operations where they look literally invincible. And I don't know if you had Tennessee last week, but certainly the world didn't think that the Tennessee Titans were going to do what they did to the New England Patriots. The value is probably on the other side when these teams get a little out of whack, right?
Yeah, I wish I would have done your show last week because I did tout the Titans really big. I think they're the best defense in the NFL. Mariota's been banged up pretty much all year long, which hindered their offense. Everybody got off the Titans after the 21-0 loss at home to the Ravens, which was probably the best defensive effort the Ravens had all year before they, over the next couple of weeks, got exploded.
I remember it well. It was the last time we won. It was my 50th birthday that day, and the Ravens had 11 sacks. So, yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I thought we were going to the Super Bowl that day. Now we're firing the coach and benching the quarterback. Amazing what a month does, Brandon.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm very high on the Titans. I've been high on them the last couple of weeks since the second half of the Charger game in London when they shut down Phillip Rivers and the offense looked great and they controlled the clock and probably a game they should have won. Then they dominate Dallas, which that win looks really well with Dallas going in and beating Philadelphia. And then they didn't beat the Patriots. They punished the Patriots. They made the Patriots look old. People better not sleep on the Tennessee Titans. I know KC's getting all the pub, New England's getting all the pub, and Pittsburgh's getting all the pub. But don't sleep on the Titans. It would not surprise me that this is a Tennessee team that won a playoff game at home against Kansas City, then they went to New England. I'm going to make a boastful call here. Titans could end up in the Super Bowl, and don't sleep on them because they do have the number one defense in the NFL, and I like them this week, plus the 2.5 in Indianapolis.
Yeah, they're getting points on the right, and I guess there's a lot of respect for Indianapolis. It's now coming on. Clearly, Houston's going to get some respect as well, but Jacksonville, they've fallen apart. Philadelphia's, last year's a long time ago in this league, right?
It's amazing how you can get to the AFC Championship game and you're a couple of plays away from beating the Patriots and going to the Super Bowl, and the Jags were the talk of the town, and then you give Bortles all that money, and now you come out this year and you've just imploded. Year to year, the progression. Listen, Philadelphia won the Super Bowl. I had an argument with somebody the other day that if Carson Wentz hadn't got hurt and played all the way through, they probably wouldn't have made the playoff run they made. It was the experience of Nick Foles and how he fit the bill for Philadelphia to get where they got. All the defensive injuries for the Eagles. Every year there's a surprise team, and every year somebody that everybody was high on just implodes. And you said it. I think this year it's the Jacksonville Jaguars with that defense and that personnel to fall off the face of the earth like they have, to be a 6-point home underdog to the Pittsburgh Steelers, tells you how far the Jags have fallen.
He is Brandon Lang, BrandonLang.com. They make movies about him. He does wagering and always has a fun offer for our audience here. Give everybody the offer. Now I'm going to get to some of these games here.
1 day free all-access pass. The last 4 Sundays we've delivered big. Saints over your Ravens, Saints over the Vikings, Saints over the Rams, and then last week the backdoor with Seattle. So if you've never taken advantage of the 1 day free all-access pass, we're 6-0 in football, my last 6. You can get Saturday or Sunday absolutely free, plus 9 other best bets. Least I can do for your listeners for taking the time to listen to me and you banter here today.
Well, late in the day on Sunday, you mentioned New Orleans, and you're all over them. Everybody's all over them, much like the Rams and the Chiefs and everybody else. Philadelphia, we talk about, how far they fall. They're now a 9-point dog in this game right now. Time, especially a late kick on Sunday down there on Bourbon Street. I got some Eagles friends that are down there, quite frankly, with green lampshades on and whatnot. But it's been different for them, and this is a great example of a team that was mighty and proud, 4-5, much like what we got around here, but playing for their lives right now, playing for the season in the aftermath of what would be a meltdown after a Super Bowl win.
Yeah, it's not going to matter. I said the line should have been 10, came out 7. It's 10 now, 9.5, 10. Their secondary is done. They're down 3 starters. That's not what you want when you're going on the road to face this offense that just put up 50 on the road at Cincinnati, 45 on the Rams. They are playing at a level offensively that people haven't seen in quite some time. I said the number should have been 10. I don't think there's anything that Philadelphia is going to be able to do defensively that's going to stop New Orleans from hitting 40 at home in that building on this secondary. So the question is, can Philadelphia, who's challenged offensively, get you 30 to cover this? And my answer is no. The Saints have won 8 in a row straight up, 7 in a row against the spread, right side of the game, New Orleans minus the points.
Brandon, a couple questions, big picture here. I mean, you've been out in Vegas a long time. You've been at this, as successfully as anybody over all this time. The offensive output we're seeing in the sport, what does that do in the lines and over-unders and expectations on a weekly basis? Because we've been doing a lot of that around here. Our team's good for 4 touchdowns this week. We're good for 30. Our defense is good to hold you to less than 30. The rules are all set up in this way. And I think more than anything, and we're not the greatest example this week with Joe Flacco being gimpy, but a lot of the quarterbacks are healthier than they usually are as we're getting our turkeys and ordering our pumpkin pie,
We never thought we would see NFL totals rivaling Big 12 totals.
Whack.
Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was 82 last week, and it flew over with the whatever it was, 40, 48, 49, 48. The Rams Chiefs total opened at 62, and it's now up to 64, and I don't think it matters. They're going to get to that total.
64. I mean, nobody's playing a lick of defense, right?
Nope, and I think that Rams and Saints combined for 80, 45-35. Last week, Seattle and the Rams combined for close to 70. I'd play that over with KC in L.A. I like KC in the game, plus the points. I think their defense is able to make a stop when you need it, where right now the Rams can't. Rams allowed close to 280 yards rushing at home last week to Seattle. What's the Chiefs going to do with their running game? I really love the Chiefs, plus the 3.5 over L.A. on Monday night.
What happens if they play it on concrete somewhere in Guadalajara?
I tell you what, that total would be 104. I'd still play the over.
Well, I mean, okay, just making sure. I mean, that's a hell of a thing, right? I mean, when you're trying to wager on the game earlier in the week, you're trying to figure out what sod and literally what country they're going to play the game in, right?
Unbelievable. And again, I was waiting to see if the line would go up to 3 so I could get value. I was surprised that when they moved it back to L.A. and gave home field advantage to the Rams, the line only went up 1 point from 2.5 to 3.5. So I thought maybe we'd see some value with 4.5. We're not. They're putting it at 3.5. And still, I'm all over KC. I just think they're the better football team and how they match up with the Rams and how they're going to attack that Rams defense.
Brandon Lang is here, BrandonLang.com. He is a sports handicapper out of Vegas, and of course they've made some movies about him. You can go out and Google the Matthew McConaughey story as well. Last thing for you, last time we talked, and it was a little while ago, the legalization of gambling and how the leagues were going to get involved, and how the NBA and many owners have talked and spoken out about the European model and wagering in the back and mobile betting, all of that's going into that. Where are we on the timeline of all of that as far as how it affects people like you that already have worked in this industry, made a life of it?
It's getting there. Atlantic City's got it. The sports books in Atlantic City are set. My buddies are there betting every weekend, loving it. Michigan, my home state, is turning the corner. They're 6 to 9 months away. It's just everyone's getting on board and realizing the taxable dollars. It's like I said on your show before, billions of dollars was going over to Costa Rica, and we didn't get any piece of that. Now you got that $1 billion pie in the middle of America, and everybody can get them a slice of those taxable dollars to do good things in their state. I think, and I said this before, 1 to 3 years we'll have every state, with the exception of Utah, because of the Mormon influence. I believe every state will get behind this. We're on our way now. In-state legislation still has to be ironed out, but all my sources tell me most of the states are getting on board, and rocking and rolling with this thing.
Well, it's probably like marijuana, right? There'll be a template for it. There'll be, this is how they did it in Colorado. This is how they're doing it in Vegas. This is how they did it in Atlantic City. There's going to be a template for all that. But the bigger issue, I think, is, I mean, come on, man. I mean, one pass interference call in any NFL game swings a line 3, 6, 7, 8, whatever it would be, right? That the leagues are now going to be on the hook for their officiating, as well as the up and up of the officiating, as well as whomever, Tim Donaghy or, Shoeless Joe or, any of the chicanery that went on back in the 50s in the NFL with banning players and whatnot. All of that will be brought into question, right? Like, it'll be the next round of steroids and where there's cheating going on, right?
Well, yes, but I've said this for years, that the players that you have to get involved to shave or fix make too much money to risk their careers. You may have a rumor here and there because somebody starts a rumor here or there, but never in my lifetime or your lifetime or the rest of anyone's lifetime will we ever have an NF player or a referee fix or shave points. You're under too much of a microscope and too much scrutiny. I remember sitting next to Bill Vinovich on a plane flight 2 years ago and had a 2-hour conversation with him, and he said the background check that they did on him before making him an NFL referee. He had never been in a casino in his life. Had they found out he'd been in a casino, he never would have got the job. So it's never going to happen. It's never been better and more controlled and more honest to bet on sports and have it be legit than it is right now. And I respect the fact that, hey, you can't handicap penalties, turnovers, and coaching stupidity. And at the end of the day, it won't be penalties to get you. It'll be coaching stupidity to get you more than anything else.
Well, and then on top of that, it's, what is a catch, right? I mean, we have that as the framework of all of this, an instant replay. I've told the story. All the Saints officials were sitting in front of me a few weeks ago when they came in here and played, and there was a disputed play. Feet inbounds, out of bounds. Was it a catch? Well, did he have control? Did he bobble? All of that stuff that we hear. And I watched 4 Saints officials say his feet are in. No, they're out. Well, was it a catch? It wasn't a catch. And I saw them arguing amongst themselves, and I kind of made light of it. I'm like, now you know what's going on in the officiating room, right? Like, where, people that are qualified and been doing this a long time, and the Mike Pereiras, even they can't really agree on what is a catch and what's not. So
listen, but I'll tell you this, it's gotten better. It's gotten better, and the calls have been more right than wrong, and thank God for that, because we can go back to Calvin Johnson. We can go back to Des Bryant. Des Bryant against Green Bay, Calvin Johnson against the Bears. Those were both catches. So I like the rules in place.
In your world, it either cost you money or it made you money, depending on, what side of righteousness you want to be on. But there's a lot at stake for them to get the calls right in general. There's even more when they have a piece of the pie on the wagering side. I think there is a greater oversight and responsibility for all of them, and I think the government might see it that way too before it's all over with.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's an argument on both sides. And as a handicapper, I look at it and say, okay, are they getting it more right than wrong? Because in fairness to me, in handicapping games and the point spread, that's the question I have to ask myself. And I'll be honest with you, they're more right than wrong now, in my opinion. And on that platform, that's all I can ask for.
Brandon Lang is here. Yeah, absolutely. He's at BrandonLang.com. He's got a one-day all-access free pass there. You want to give me a play, a pick, somewhere to look? Because I wouldn't bring up a game like Tampa and the Giants to you, right? Like, I wouldn't say, well, there's a game, 1.5, both teams stink, whatever. Maybe you see value in some of these dog games, or maybe you see value in a great game like the Rams and the Chiefs.
I'll tell you where your value is. Dallas plus 3.5 over Atlanta. Dallas's defense is far superior than anything Atlanta has. Atlanta struggles in the red zone. That Dallas defense is legit. Atlanta with the horrible effort at Cleveland coming back home. I think Dallas found something as a team at Philadelphia. I love Dallas plus the 3.5 to go into Atlanta and beat the Falcons outright.
Well, there's your freebie for the week. You can visit Brandon at BrandonLang.com. Always great to talk issues with you. I always learn a little something when we get together, and I appreciate our intelligent conversation. Thanks for coming on, Brandon.
Thanks, bud.
BrandonLang.com, the way to find him. You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.